Were you at all nervous for Trump?
I was definitely hyped up. I was excited because I wanted to. There's a lot of questions I need to answer.
Did you feel pressure?
No,
No pressure.
not pressure.
Pressure
No.
mean like make sure you covered everything you want to cover.
No. Just like I knew what was important.
Did you
not
prepare for
necessarily.
it?
Yeah.
Did you ask him why he was so pro-vaccine?
No, I didn't. But I also wanted to be rigid because there was a moment when he brought up the polio vaccine. I was like, oh, I don't want to correct him. I don't want to show like when the. Have you ever seen the chart of when polio actually dropped off when the vaccine was introduced?
I referenced it
at the very end.
It's all bullshit.
Yeah,
That's a rough one. When you look at the actual, like, there's a bunch of them. Measles is another one, and you look at what actually happened.
Vaccine talk as a president.
Exactly, and I don't want to get involved in a podcast where there's a lot of shit I want to get to. Yeah. I want to know what the fuck is in the JFK files.
Did you?
You know, we talked about that.
I didn't see that part because I've seen.
He said there's a lot of people that are still alive, and I said, okay, so that's why you wouldn't release it because some of the people that are going to be implicated are still alive. So what that's saying to me is that the government was involved.
100%. Everybody knows.
But I said that, and he kind of like he danced a little.
The politician came out.
No, he's real good at you ask him a question, and he starts to answer it, but then he takes you on a totally different route.
The weave.
You got to bring him back in, but you got to be respectful. So it's like I knew that's the way he does it, but I'm like I understand what you're doing, sir. But let's get it back to what I was asking you.
Yeah, you did that a couple times.
I was like, I want to know what that first fucking day is like, and I don't think I really got that answer out of him.
I don't think he remembers.
I think he does. What I'm talking about is like this feeling of now you have to appoint 10,000 people, and now you have to figure out how this machine works when you've never governed at all, and they don't show you any of that when you're running for president. It's not like a training program.
Details.
Like, hey, Brendan, you might be president, so we're going to show you. This is how deals get made.
I like what he said about John Bolton. He said, yeah, he's a whack job, but you know what was cool about him? When I went to fucking Iran and I had John Bolton, they all knew he was he was ready to drop bombs. He's called him a whack job, but he had his purpose.
That kind of mindset. You know, the problem with the Trump stuff is just that the people look at the inflammatory things he says, the crazy shit, and they define him by that. But you also have to remember this is a very bizarre combination of an entertainer and a businessman. So it's an entertainer that, like, he's like a comedian, man. He says funny shit. He does it all the time.
Very funny.
He's always, when he makes fun of Biden.
Constantly roasting.
He's funny,
He's
man.
New York. He's very New York.
I mean, it's the fact that the nicknames he gives to people, that they have to be funny.
Tim.
Yeah. If it wasn't funny, he wouldn't use it. Like Tampon Tim.
Yeah,
But my point is,
people
people don't know what to do with that.
Yeah. Did you have a different perspective after? Like you don't know him well, right?
I don't know him at all.
But
I
after sitting
literally
down for
never
3 hours,
had a conversation with him other than "nice to meet you, sir." And he complimented me. I said, "Thank you. You're really good at this UFC stuff."
Yeah,
like
no
that kind of
shit.
thing. Like, thank you, sir.
But after 3 hours, did you have a different impression of him or no?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a businessman. Bottom line, he likes making deals. That's what it is. Like, that's his whole thing. And he's got this ability to just keep going. This is what's crazy. Like, the podcast is 3 hours long. The guy didn't pee before the podcast. He didn't pee after the podcast.
Maybe he had
just
a little
left.
catheter.
Maybe
And he
was
drinks
wearing a
more
diaper.
Diet Cokes than me.
But he didn't drink anything during the podcast.
Gangster.
He just sat here and we talked, and they were freaking out there because he was 2 hours late for something he was doing in Michigan. He didn't give a fuck. He's like, I know this is going to be bigger than that. Let's just keep going. We did 3 hours.
Damn.
But at the end of it, he's, you know, I don't know him other than the 3 hours that I talked to him when he was trying to be at his best.
And
right?
Kamala Harris has not said yes yet.
She hasn't said no either. People keep saying she said no. I said
smart.
I would have a conversation with her like a human being. That's all I want to do. That's literally all I want to do.
But that's trouble
I want to
for
know
her.
what is it like to be. I don't even give a fuck about all the stuff she's talked about policies and all these different things. We know her positions.
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
Just be real.
Who are you?
The crazy thing with Kamala is
she would be well served to step into the lion's den.
No, she's
and
not, though,
take it
because she
on
can't do it.
and
I would be
honest.
willing to talk about anything other than politics. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Right.
I don't give a
You wanna
fuck.
know who she is.
Like, if there were some certain things they didn't want to talk about, like, fine, I don't care. Let's talk. I want to know who you are.
Yes.
I can find out who you are if
so
we
the
can
rest
talk
of
about
us.
sports.
Oh,
I believe it's
but who's
time
that
that a woman
influencing?
becomes
the
president.
fact that they keep pushing that Trump is Hitler and he promised to be a
Hey, yo,
dictator.
we're
It's a great
missing a
fight.
banger
Danny Gay
here.
and
I hope Kamala says yes. 3 hours.
I hope she
settle
says
into
yes
who
too.
you really are in 3 hours.
I don't
You
know if
can't
she would do
hide for
3 hours. They probably want to do like an hour.
You're going to get 22 minutes.
I'll get an hour.
I don't know, man. 22 minutes.
22 minutes with bullet points.
You know, it's like no one knows who these fucking people are.
Right.
Get into her favorite sexual
Well, we do know who
positions.
Trump
I would-
is. We do know. Who
I think
Trump
someone
is. Good or
didn't
bad.
that call her daddy girl? Didn't they start talking about bedroom stuff?
Yeah. I like cowgirl.
It's a very
Oh
good
my
comment.
goodness! Oh my goodness! You son of a bitch!
But really, reverse cowgirl on New Year's Eve and 4th of July, that's my favorite.
Well, she does. She gives good cooking tips. Ever see her good cooking tips?
Does she? What does she say?
Tells people how to
Use
cook,
beef
cook
tallow.
stuff.
Beef tallow.
She'll probably be like, no seed oils are the best. They're getting a bad rap.
I like-
You got to
talow's
stick
too
with
right
seed oil.
wing. Beef talow's too right wing.
Exactly.
I like
Too pro.
sunflower oil.
Crisco is the best.
Isn't it crazy
To
that
stick with the old school.
All that stuff is industrial lubricant that they tricked us into taking over
seed oils?
butter. Yeah,
It's so fucked up.
it's so bad. It's from France.
I can't believe you guys
No,
haven't
this
had
is
to
from
take a
Paso
piss.
Robles.
No, I'm hanging
But it's
in
I
there.
like
can't believe.
Are you ready?
Dude, I got another
Trump
one.
hung in there for 3 hours, didn't pee, left, didn't pee before he left.
He's a robot.
Just got in here, didn't have to use the restroom, sat down for 3 hours,
And these are his Diet Cokes.
Dude, you know what?
and then flew out.
They're his Diet Cokes?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
one Diet Cokes for him. 'Cause he likes Diet Cokes.
He's the only guy I know
And
that
then-
drinks more
You know why he
DCs
drinks
than me.
Diet Coke and eats McDonald's? Because they can't poison that.
Well, no, McDonald's has
That's
an
not funny.
issue. McDonald's has an issue.
No, if he goes to McDonald's, how are they going to poison the McDonald's? How are they going to poison the Diet Cokes?
That's true.
No, that's real.
Well, I don't know if that's why he's. I think it
Yeah, I
tastes
think he just
delicious.
likes it.
I think he
It's my
likes
guess.
Kentucky Fried Chicken. Remember he was on Air
chunky.
Force One having some Kentucky Fried Chicken.
How tall is he in person? Big dude?
He's like 6'1", I guess, probably.
Oh,
Was
shorter
Barron
than I
here?
thought.
Who?
'Cause
Yeah.
that's what Schultz said. Schultz
Trump?
said he's actually smaller
Well,
than I thought.
He probably shrank a little
Yeah.
as he's gotten
70,
older.
is it 74?
But I,
78.
I thought he was like 6'4", 6'5".
He was.
No,
He was like
maybe he
6'3".
was at one point in time and he shrunk. But very nice guy and fun to talk to. We had a good time.
Has your-
I talked to him like I talked to everybody. I swore. I just talked normal.
Has
I
your
like his
Trump
son.
impression improved since?
I don't
you-
have a good Trump impression. Shane Gillis
but
is so good.
has
So
it
good.
improved? Those like a little bit.
He didn't sound like
okay.
Trump
Like-
with you. He didn't sound like Trump with you. He sounded more like he was just more calm. And his voice,
Could you do
Here's what
Joey
it-
Diaz doing
But
Trump?
Here's
Is
what
that
it is.
possible?
He didn't
must
think
be.
he was going to get attacked.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
relaxed.
His guard was down.
yeah, well, it's not even that his guard was down. Like he knew I wasn't gonna fuck with him. I'm like, I just want to talk to you.
Yeah.
I just like the same way I would treat Kamala Harris. I just want to have a conversation.
Yep.
Just like I just want to know what did you do? Why did you do this? What was it like when you got in office? Like there's a bunch of things that I needed to ask him about. There's a few that I didn't get to. Abortion was one of them. Psychedelics was another one. There's a couple different things that I did want to talk to him about, but the big one for me was like, what the fuck is it like when you've never governed anything ever, and then all of a sudden you're in the White House? Like, what's that
Who
experience
do you
like?
talk to? Like,
Well, he was very. It takes a while because he like goes on these journeys. He likes to talk about different kinds of things, and he calls it a weave, and he brings it back to the original subject. But he can talk about anything he wants that way. He kind of dictates the conversation. But I had to kind of bring him back to. Well, you have thousands of people. Like, how many people did you have to appoint? He had to appoint 10,000 different people to these jobs, and he has no experience, so he doesn't know these people. So he's taking other people's advice, and there was a lot of people that I put in that I shouldn't have put in, and he's super honest about it and what he did and what he was trying to do by imparting tariffs and by decreasing taxes. He wanted to stimulate business, and he wants to drill for oil. He said we have more oil in this country
And
than
water.
any country in the world.
And
He
water,
said
too,
we
he's talking
can
about,
be
right?
completely self-sustaining in the United States.
Yes.
Bring American manufacturing back.
Fuck
The
yeah.
way that we get taxed if we sell our stuff overseas, we should be taxing them. We should be hitting them with tariffs. He even floated out the idea. I don't even know if this would work, but he floated out the idea we could end income tax and just rely totally on tariffs.
Totally. Can you imagine we're paying 50% of our fucking money and we still got to pay for water? We still got to pay for energy. We got a water bill and we're paying 50% of our fucking checks.
Facts.
That shit should be fucking free.
Whoa.
That shit should be fucking free.
Bro, take it easy.
Right?
We should get a well.
Right? And,
Yeah.
and-
Get a
and
well.
can you do Joey Diaz doing
No,
an
no,
impression?
no, no,
Hey, Joe,
I'm not-
what did he say about the wall? Did you talk about the wall at all?
Yeah, he was talking about what they're doing, what they're trying to do, and it's very clear that they're trying. He thinks they're trying to get voters.
Of course,
they're bringing people in. They're financially incentivizing them to give them housing,
no ID to vote,
no ID to vote, and then amnesty. They're trying to give them amnesty, and they keep pushing for this stuff, and they mysteriously wind up in swing states.
Yep. So with that wall, when you build a wall like that, guess what? You put in roads. You put in like 50, 100 major roadways to get all the material to the wall. Guess what that does? The Sonoran Desert and the Chihuahuan Desert are amazing natural barriers. Now that you put roads in there, it actually makes it easier for migrants to walk those roads at night. So it made it easier. That's the irony of that wall. So there's a lot of things that go on with this fucking immigration, that you do one thing, you never know what the ripple effect.
California's never going to become red again.
Right.
They've got that thing down. They did amnesty in California.
Yeah.
They allowed people to vote in California, and then they just set up a bunch of policies that make it very convenient for people that are migrants to come across the border.
You can't win
and
it
now
back.
you just and then you have mail-in ballots, and you have no voter ID, so you don't know who the fuck's voting.
It's true.
And
It's gonna be
you
interesting,
essentially
though.
rigged an election without doing anything completely illegal. Everything is like fairly legal.
It's making
yeah,
a
but the
difference.
problem is anything you have, anytime you have something on a computer, you've got shenanigans. Jimmy
And you
Carter
got-
figured out
yeah.
this in the 1970s. Trump was talking about it. That Jimmy Carter realized back then that you can't have mail-in ballots because there's too much room for fraud. There's no the chain of custody is funky, right? From someone drops it in a mailbox, the guy picks it up, no one's watching him, he brings it in a sack. What if that guy's a nutty Democrat or a nutty Republican, and he knows he's in a Democrat county and they're all Biden signs on there, so he picks up their mail and throws their shit in the
that's
garbage.
that documentary, 2,000 Mules.
Larger thing
Watch
is,
that shit.
I didn't see that.
I had that guy on my
Watch
podcast.
that shit.
But
Watch
what'd you
that
think?
shit.
So
What's
I
his
had
name?
him on my podcast.
What's his name?
Dinesh D'Souza. And I kept asking him, though, I was like, because you keep talking about there's more evidence. So there's hundreds of hours or thousands of hours of CCT evidence footage, and they just, at the end of the day, never delivered on it. And so
It's in the
I was
the
like-
documentary.
and
Just watch it.
I think
Maybe he didn't deliver it on your podcast, but he put a documentary out.
I saw it. I watched the doc.
2000.
I watched the doc and I interviewed him.
What about it?
So in the doc,
Brian
there's-
is fully indoctrinated into the CIA.
not.
When do you think it happened?
I don't know. Is
What
Kamala
year?
giving you money? Or?
Yeah,
Kamala
he's going to
is
be
giving
doing
me
one of
money.
them fucking
She's
things
giving
right
me
next to
money, too.
Beyonce with
You
a
know
big
what?
stupid smile on his face.
This podcast is
Trying to
being
get a
sponsored by
cigar.
Kamala Harris. This wine is actually from
He has to
Kamala
leave.
Harris,
He has to
so
leave
winery.
early to go hang out
We
with
gotta
John
open-
Legend.
let's
She's probably
open-
got her own
Let's open another
vineyard.
bottle.
Now, if it was 2001,
tannins.
would there be a different
It depends.
difference?
Depends on the drought and whether or not climate change is real.
That's true.
See, that's why Leonardo DiCaprio is voting for Kamala Harris. Has nothing to do with the Diddy
Yeah,
parties.
when you guys are talking,
nothing to do with the Diddy parties. He's endorsed Kamala Harris because of climate
what do you
change.
think
Then
about
did you
that?
see him? He's on a yacht and then on a private jet. Literally,
So
like
smart.
last week.
Yeah.
This
I
is
do.
the thing. We don't know who's involved in this whole Diddy
Right.
thing. Is this an intelligence agency thing where they were trying to compromise people that were famous and get them to
Or people are just
endorse
horny and
certain
freaky.
political candidates? Is it that?
Or he's really close with Obama.
Or is it really just Diddy masterminded the whole thing
bro.
like a fucking gangster?
Hey, bro, you're going down that conspiracy route more and more. You're
How is that a
was,
conspiracy?
was Epstein a conspiracy though?
But wait a minute, what's a
I think he was
conspiracy that I'm
Diddy
Diddy
fraud.
shit is
Hold on.
everywhere, dog.
But what am I going down with this one?
I think
specifically?
Diddy might have just been a fucking criminal /
Yeah,
freak.
I just said that.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
said
you don't
that's
think
a
he had a boss?
possibility.
No,
No,
you
no,
think he had
no,
a
no, no.
boss?
I said a possibility that he is the gangster
yeah.
and he ran this whole blackmail operation
Oh
himself.
yeah, 100%.
Well,
And right
listen,
now we're
if he's
anonymous.
a billionaire, that's $1,000 million, right?
It's just
But
me.
imagine if they're doing that to the
Ooh.
boys and the dudes out there. What are they doing to the women?
Ignoring them.
The thing is the other
They
thing
don't
they
wanna deal
said
with
is
their
this
mouths.
one woman got raped and they blamed her for being a slut. And this is like humans. Because if you go back
Humans.
to like the reports,
Humans,
the
Rwanda
reports
and
of religious people that traveled with Columbus and the horrific things Columbus's men did to the Native Americans they found.
They were
found-
raping the
some of
Indians
these people.
too?
No, worse than that. Some of these people had gold, so they found out they had gold. They told them they didn't bring back their weight in gold. They would cut their arms off.
That's right.
So they'd cut their arms off in front of everybody else. Everybody else would scramble to get gold. They would to
Belgians did
force
the
them
same
to go
thing.
do this. They would grab their babies and dash their brains out on the rocks in front of the parents.
The Belgians did the same thing in the
that's why we
Congo.
don't celebrate
And
Columbus Day.
the King
Indigenous
Leopold's
Peoples'
men
Day now.
did the same shit in the Congo with the rubber trees and
What's
stuff
wrong
like
with
that.
people?
Yep.
What the
They
fuck
would
is
cut,
wrong
they
with
would cut
you?
your children's feet off and make you stare.
What's
at
wrong
it.
with them?
When you get awful people in power with no one to check them, and they're in a war, and they've seen a bunch of shit already, they've seen
numb to
horrific
it.
they're
It's like the cartel.
I think they're
Psychopaths.
sadistic.
they
I
don't
think you
value.
have,
They don't value life.
I think sadists come out of the woodwork in chaos, and it's their opportunity to do the things they've been
Jesus
dreaming about
Christ,
their whole
man.
life. There are artists of pain out there. Artists of pain, which is why you should always thank the Lord that the founding fathers solved the political problem. Where what is that? Checks and
I
balances.
knew he was going to bring it back to some CIA shit.
Power doesn't reside in one group's hands.
and Brian's like, and this is why we should get booster shots.
And this is why
we
I'm voting
need
for
that.
Harris Waltz, guys.
We need
Harris-
that app to track you. It's really important.
That's right.
That way you can vote.
Power
Mike
as the
Pence.
president.
Who
Mike
the
Pence.
fuck wanted?
Just soft.
Who the fuck wanted Mike Pence to be the president other than Mike Pence?
Yeah.
Zero people, right? So Trump is smart. Gets you don't want some fucking assassin, some guy who's like way better than you. Like Vivek is a perfect example.
yeah, he's
like
good.
that guy's
Smart.
good.
They're like,
man.
he's way too smart to be VP.
You
Smart.
can't have that guy as VP.
Well, Bush.
Have you had him on your
Bush-
podcast?
Bush,
No, I would,
Bush
though.
purposely gave, because remember, the vice president has as much power as the president gives him. And Bush deliberately gave Dick Cheney a lot of power.
Oh yeah, he wanted to go paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dick Cheney ran the whole fucking
Yeah.
evil cabal.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Yep.
The whole thing's nuts. But if you go back to like Gerald Ford, like they made Richard Nixon. Tucker Carlson told us the whole fucking story about Gerald Ford and about how Richard Nixon, who was the most popular president ever, was set up by the intelligence communities
heard it, yeah.
because he
You
was
sent me
he
that.
wanted to expose who killed JFK, and they're like, yeah,
They shut it
hey
down.
buddy, get this, you're
How
a crook.
interesting.
Yeah, the whole thing was an intelligence operation.
Joe,
That Ford had 2 assassination attempts by women. One from the Weathermen, I think, and one from the Manson clan. You know that?
Oh,
Do you know
that's-
that story?
that makes sense.
Well,
Yeah.
14 days apart.
Jesus
14
Christ.
days apart, 2 women tried to kill Ford, but I think they were like, here's a gun. And they were like,
Joe,
oh, geez.
did you ask Trump about the assassination? Like, there's nothing on it.
Yeah,
There's
I didn't
no one
ask him
asking
about
questions?
that. It's hard to corral him. Like I said, he's like very slippery. Not, and I don't even mean that in a bad way. I mean that he just like he talks.
Yeah,
the guy's a
he goes.
gifted talker. He can just talk. You never have to worry about him running out of things to say. And sometimes he talks himself into corners, but he gets out of it, But it's just like he free balls. That's what he does. And so when I was talking to him about the assassin, he was just joking around. We started talking about the UFC because I wanted to see the scar on his ear. He does have a little mark on his ear.
Yeah.
He did have a mark.
Yeah, he does
He
have
got
a
shot.
It's a small mark on his, but your ear is filled with blood vessels. That's why it bleeds
bleeds a
so
lot,
much.
yeah.
It heals quick.
quickly, yeah.
So he was just talking about Bo Nickel and
Yeah.
cauliflower ear. And next thing he wanted to talk about who's the best ever. Like
He
he's
didn't
a
want to
real
talk about it.
He's a real. Well, he did a little bit, but he said it was surreal when he won the presidency. It wasn't surreal when he got shot. I thought that was fascinating.
Wow.
He said being in the White House was surreal. He goes walking into Lincoln's bedroom. He goes, it was very surreal. Like,
Yeah.
but when he actually got into the White House, he said it just didn't make any sense. It was very, very surreal.
What-
he said getting shot did not seem surreal. He goes, he was
Yeah.
on the ground. He knew who he was. They thought he was shot all over the place because of the blood, because it was, the fog of confusion, and there's blood on his face, and nobody knew where he had been hit. So they were all, and they got him out of there. But when he stands up and says, fight, 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 that is
but they've
one of the
erased
most,
it.
The most American
things
things
of all time.
ever.
Of all time.
Ever.
Of all time. You can't fake that. That guy got shot. He didn't know if people were still out there shooting. Nobody knew what
That's
the fuck
real.
was going on. And that guy stood up and said, fight, fight, fight. And he got out of there. Like, one of the questions that I asked Trump, the big one, was about the JFK files. So I was like, why didn't you release them? Because I told him, you had said publicly that if they showed you what they showed me, you wouldn't release it either. And so one of the things he was talking about was some of those people are still alive. And I said, well, what you're implying by some of those people that are still alive, you mean in the government? He essentially said yes. And I said, so what you're implying is they would be implicated in the murder of JFK. So the government is implicated in the murder of JFK. Some people that were involved an intelligence agency or something that may be still alive, were implicated in the murder of JFK. Said he's all going to get it out once he gets into office. Said it'll be a cleansing. Said it'd be. That's how he described it.
That's another reason they don't want him in there.
100%. That's definitely.
It's a huge reason they don't want him running the house.
There's a lot of shit, man. There's just the stuff they did with the 51. Just the stuff they did with the 51 former intelligence agents that signed off and said the Hunter Biden laptop ad was the laptop was disinformation from Russia. Just that alone.
Just that alone.
And starts
that alone should like change your whole mind.
I always go to Occam's razor like dumb, lazy.
Don't you do this, you son of a bitch.
Dumb and lazy.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I always go.
He just